Hello, footies. Welcome along to your latest dose of Football Ultimate Team podcasting goodness. We are FUT in Review, powered by footcoaching.com. It is Tuesday, the 1st of October, as we sit here recording this around about lunchtime, UK time. My name is Dan Wimbush, always known as Wimby. I am joined, as always, for the Tuesday Club by my main man, Shaq Attack, and the scout, Nathan Downs. We've got loads to get into on today's show. We're going to be talking about our preps for the first weekend league. And wow, the stakes are high for this one. We're going to be talking, of course, about bugs that continue to blight the FC25 experience. And we've got a very large mail sack today to get through with plenty of questions ranging from transferred road to the knockout players to how we've been getting on in playoffs, our general thoughts on the game, and of course, the future of a rush as well. So let's get into it. Gentlemen, how are we? Shaq, how's your week been?
Been really good from a FIFA point of view. It's been quite interesting. I think I've been up, I've been down, I've been everywhere with FIFA and EAFC 25. And as of right now, I just opened my rewards from Champs qualifying and got absolutely nothing. So I'm on the downward spiral at this moment.
Bit of a negative Nelly today. We will bear that in mind. From a negative Nelly to the man who sits on the fence more than anybody else, Nathan Downs, how are you?
I'm all right. It's quite uncomfortable sitting here in this chair with all these splinters in my backside. But no, it's actually been quite a good week. I listened to my own advice that I said on the pod last week. I've kind of started to home down a formation. I'm starting to enjoy the game a bit more. I'm starting to feel like I'm getting a bit better again. So that's always a good feeling.
And a nice little story in your on-pitch career, your not FC25 career as well. Go on, spill the beans.
Yeah, my on-pitch career, I was on the bench. I'm a coach, but I was on the bench on Saturday in the Scottish Cup first round. We got a win against a Highland League team, so we've now been drawn to a League Two team in the second round. So 2 rounds away from Celtic or Rangers coming into the hat. Last year we managed to make the third round. We took about 1,000 supporters down to Glasgow, which was it's an incredible experience anyway. So I was on the bench hoping not to get the call up, and hopefully I'll be back in the dugout proper instead of on the bench on the next round.
There we go.
That's fabulous.
There we go. Congratulations, my friend. I hope to see your bronze card in pack soon.
I don't think they have one low enough. What's below bronze? I don't think we've got a black card or something.
Looking forward to it. Look, cracking stuff. Let's get into the game. One of the big things, of course, that people want to talk about, we're going to have to start on the negative note because it is something that is impacting still a lot of people. It's just the bugs. Now, we spoke on last week's show that was released last Wednesday, Tuesday as we recorded it, about all the bugs. And Shaq, so many of them just haven't seemed to have been patches. We've still got problems with the store and the menu. We've got issues with going into co-op games, instantly crashing out. We've got the right stick, sometimes not working in PlayStation. So many bugs. I mean, do you feel that this, we talked and saying, oh, well, hopefully it'll be ready for full release. Do you think this game is still ready? Are these acceptable bugs at this stage, or is it still a little bit of taking the mickey for 80 of your English pounds or 50 or however many you pay?
Look, considering it's technically week 2 for us and the bugs are still there. For example, you can't even go through a menu. You can't even go through a gameplay session without having your game crash out on you or just freeze. And 10, 11 days in, that's just not acceptable for paying the early release fees. And then you expect a fully finished product. It's not even finished. Forget being polished. It's not even finished. And I'm starting to get a little bit frustrated with trying to restart my game every time it crashes. And within the game as well, I just feel like there's certain things that are not fully there yet, if that makes sense. In the sense, I think I'm noticing that sometimes player movement is not consistent with what I'm trying to do. Sometimes in certain gameplay, it's just weird. And there's things that EA needs to address, especially the menus. They really need to address that.
Yeah, someone made a Reddit post about saying that, the type of games that he wins, and he points out that so often it's because he's intercepting passes that he can tell full well that an opponent hasn't aimed that way. So, look, there's certainly things on the gameplay front, and we're going to get into that. But just talking about the menu fixes, of course, there is a patch update that has just been released for PC within the past few hours of us recording this. And it links into what Ingvi, the Mr. FIFA database, has had to say in our mailbag. Of course, if you're a member of the Discord, you get access to the questions channel and priority for this very show. Although, hands up, I did forget the mailbag last week. That is on me. Very bad, Dan. Very bad, Dan. Anyway, Ingvi says, with all these bugs in the game, how long do we see gameplay adjustments in a patch, and how much adjustment do you think EA will make? The coming patch now this week seems to just address the menu lag. And the patch he's referring to, I will read out the list because it's not very long. Address the following general audio and visual issues. Sometimes button inputs were not being registered when performing actions in the menus. Controller compatibility issues when using Steam input. And stability issues occasionally happening in all online modes. I love that phrase, stability issues. It's such a catch-all thing. And as pertains to Ultimate Team specifically, they've said, we've addressed the following issues. Stability issue when accessing squad battles. I can't actually say that's one I've encountered before. Addressed instances of stability issues while in the store. Unintended UI elements sometimes displaying on the screen. And adjusted the message that displays when confirming to start an evolution. So, Nath, a bit of a nothing burger in terms of that patch so far. Very much does feel like hot fixes rather than something that's deserving title update 2.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm on PC, so I've had that patch this afternoon, just now. The only issue that I've had is it actually seems to have created a store issue for me. I never had any issues with the store before. But now when I opened some, I think I had the 50 power shot rewards, and there was another sort of reward that I had. So I opened 2 packs, and every time I hit, I think it's X on the controller, it just kicks me out the game completely instead of swapping in my tradable items for the dupes. So it actually seems to have created an issue rather than solving anything. That was the only thing that I kind of experienced, but it doesn't seem like it does seem like a hot patch. It doesn't seem like it's addressing some of the issues that I know we're going to go and speak about later on. So it's almost a bit like EA feel like they have to be seen to be doing something rather than thinking through what's the best use of our time and resource to put the best quality game out as we can right now.
But as pertains to Ingvi's question there, Nath, I mean, what is more important for you? Is it EA getting all these things on the menus and the actual main stability issues right as soon as possible? Or should they be lending more time to balancing out gameplay issues and features and, that we're going to talk about very shortly that, are annoying people so far?
So my first thought is they have to make the game stable to begin with. I'm not against them making it stable because what's the point in having a perfect game if you're playing really well and suddenly the game crashes and you're kicked out? So actually, people are learning how to play the game just now. It's not perfect as we know, but I think you need to be stable. The game needs to run smoothly. Otherwise, you're just going to get this perfect product which you can't actually play anyway. I'd rather them go on the stability issues. And, we none of us are programmers or coders. These actual gameplay issues might be a bit deeper than we think. So yes, they shouldn't have released an unfinished product, but actually let us play the game anyway without booting us out and causing that frustration. Then bring out a proper major patch rather than trying to fix something that they can't do because of the server issue or the stability issues anyway.
Well, let's move on from actual quantifiable bugs to those mentions of the gameplay things that, people often throw around, Shaq, that word broken. This is broken. That is broken. This is OP. That is OP. Based on your experience now for playing this game for a couple of weeks, is there anything that to you is firmly in that is broken, that is OP camp? Is there anything you would firmly put in there?
I think there's slightly a difference between OP and broken, whereas, for example, the speed boost that you get from holding L1 and then taking an exit and using R2, that's not really broken, but it is OP. It really works in certain occasions, but there's a skill gap as well because it only works it works well in certain angles and certain parts of the pitch, but it's not broken. I don't believe it's broken. I think it works really well for certain players. It doesn't really work as well with players that don't have the right play styles for it. Same thing with the chip through pass. Sometimes it works really well. Again, I don't think it's broken. I think it's overpowered because it works in certain situations. It gives you such an advantage, but there's a way to cut it off as well. If you start reading the play, if you notice when you play against someone, there's certain people that you can consistently do it and they have no idea how to stop it. And there's certain people that you just can't do it against them because they've read you and they will block that pass out. So I don't mind that sort of balance to be in the game, but I think from a overall game point of view, I think the stability issues are probably what will actually make a real difference because right now we don't necessarily know whether these things are actually overpowered or they're broken. We don't necessarily know. We're just guessing. And with a new patch, things could change completely as well.
Yeah, anything bugging you gameplays wise, Nathan? I mean, we hear lots of people, already calling out the 5 at the back meta that's emerged, the OP-ness, as mentioned, of set pieces and things like that. Yeah, Shaq's raising his hand. Those of you watching the viewers, he's already moved to a 5 back, straight on the Rat Express. But Nate, what about you? I mean, what gameplay elements are you thinking? I really want to see that in Title Update 3.
To be honest, it's not been too bad. Like, I don't think I've ever had the same thing happen in 2 games in a row. Even with 5 at the back, I actually think 5 in the back last year was mentally OP. I think it's very effective now, but there's still ways around it. I think the way that you can put your wingers or your cams on inside forward type thing, I think that actually makes it almost a 4-on-5 at the back. And usually, as you see in 5 backs, you've at least got one gallivanting fullback. So actually, there's ways around it if you know how to exploit it yourself. Excuse me, I'm just joking on my own cough.
He's choking on his own words as he prepares to exploit everything he's just talked about.
No, I actually don't think there's anything too wild. Like, I think power shots in the right hands, if you've got that power shot plus, I think power shots are crazy. Like, I was scoring some today, which was literally like the guy had camped in, so I was like, I'm just going to hit this, and it was going top corner. But that was with Rashford and Nunes, that had kind of the power shot pluses, so you'd expect them to be decent. Loft through balls, like you've said, they are effective, and if you do switch off, like, you can go, damn, that's broken. But actually, I switched off, and I didn't track my runner, or I didn't close the passer down really well. So at the moment, I generally think it's quite a balanced game. I think the biggest bug for me is that I don't have any pack luck at the moment, really, compared to some of these teams that we're playing. And I was saying to you guys, I played a streamer in qualifiers, and his team was mainly a goal team, but it was insane. And as soon as you saw the team, I thought, oh no, Twitch TV plus this team. I was like, I'm in for a world of hurt here. So that's my biggest bugbear at the moment. But I think the gameplay wise, actually, I don't get a lot of the hate on it. I don't know whether it's just my experience or people are just quite quick to react. And I think it's easier to jump on board the negativity train than it is to say, actually, no, it's me rather than the program. If we do something wrong, we always blame something else.
Well, it's a good point to bring in FUT Grandpa's feedback as well in the Discord. And he says, I always enjoy the pace of the game early on. It makes it seem like you can play a proper football style. Do you think that the first patch will make the game feel more arcade, as it normally does? I know this can be a knock-on effect of various changes, but I really hope they keep the pace of the game as it is. And I think that's, I tend to agree with FUT Grandpa. I haven't had too many problems with this game so far and kind of the style and the pace. It's just been a learning curve, Shaq. Do you think that maybe there is just a case of people getting perhaps too quick to be frustrated because they're not just able to do exactly what they did, 3 weeks ago with 99 rated players in FC24?
Definitely. I think there's one thing that I picked up from one of the many rant videos. One of the things that actually was kind of true is some of the inputs, for example, if you look back, doesn't happen all the time. It's not really consistent, but sometimes the shooting mechanic takes a little bit longer than you expect it to actually take. And that's, I don't know if it's by design, if it's the rating of the players that we're playing with. There's certain things that happen in the game that I can't really explain. But otherwise, I think from a speed perspective, I think it's one of those things as well. As I said, last weekend I had a boys' night with a couple of mates, and we played a lot of just couch play using normal teams, and we just couldn't play with the 3-star, 4-star teams. Just didn't cut it. But as soon as you start playing with the 5-star teams, like a Madrid, for example, just comes to my mind. Everything was just flowing smoothly. Everything was happening automatically. Things were moving the way you expected. So I have a feeling that once we start getting better teams, better cards, better tactics, we will start to understand how to play this game the way it's meant to be played.
Yeah, very much agree. And there are little bugbears that I've got. I think, the amount of rebound goals just seems a bit too much at the moment. Like, just goalkeeper. But then again, is there a skill gap between the goalkeepers emerging this year that we maybe haven't had for the past few years? As soon as I had that Sanchez, the World Tour card, in for a few days, and he just wasn't saving anything. Put Manuel Neuer in on a glove, man saves everything. So again, it feels like it's really too early. I mean, look, I've watched the now famous annual or biannual or bi-weekly Inception ran, and he does make some good points, and things about inconsistent gameplay and stuff like that. You absolutely understand where he's coming from, and all of the people that are complaining about things like facing constant 5 backs and the slowness and things like that, I get it. It's not great, but I can only speak from personal experience, and I haven't bashed the game enough in terms of playtime bashing rather than just bashing the quality of the game to be able to say, right, that, I'm not walking into every single game and in like FIFA 20, it was drag back near post. I'm not seeing that yet. I'm not seeing the FIFA 20, the FC 24 of cut back goal. So to me, the meta is still fully yet to emerge. And I think, as for Grandpa says, it's kind of a great stage of the game to be in. But our innocence will only last so long. Let's move on. I'm going to kind of use the mailbag here to jam us through different topics. And I want to get to Adams now because he says, how are you lads finding the game? And how did everyone find qualifying for Weekend League? I thought it was going to be super tough based on the EA pros around it, but I think most of our people have been making it without too much bother. Talking about people in the Discord. He says, I'm enjoying it for the most part with some frustrating aspects, especially dodgy menus off the pitch. On the pitch, I think it's pretty good, though it can be a little slow, as some games turn into all-out slugfests in the midfield, but it is good fun. And Nath, I'm going to start with you on this one. I think we've kind of covered how you're finding the game, but you are literally in the midst of playoffs right now. How are you finding qualifying?
I'm 2-0 up in qualifying, so that's positive. I just need my one win, which I'll probably bottle or crumble like a chocolate hobnob. But I've seen some people in our Discord say they've gone through, there's no God squads, it's quite a breeze. Unfortunately, I haven't found that. I've had 2 God squads. I think I've won 5-4 and 4-3, one against, like I said earlier, a Twitch streamer. So it's tough. But what I am finding is that, my team's now feeling a bit of balance. I've got positions I want to improve on, but actually a team feels relatively good. I'm starting to learn the capabilities of the cards that I've got just now. And I think it's actually a lot easier than just ramming a team together, to be honest. So I was expecting it to be kind of like 1 win, 1 loss, 1 win, 1 loss, and then maybe the 5th game be a bit of a tiebreaker almost. But so far, so good. It's just, I just know it's going to go downhill soon.
Yeah, and worth noting as well that you've literally just played this just before we're recording. So it's kind of middle of the day UK time. So you've not perhaps got that more casual, wider base on. It is people usually pretty dedicated or good at the game if they've got that ability to play during the daytime. Shaq, it's interesting because I had a lot of nerves going into playoffs. I was like, oh my God, this is going to, like Adam said, I thought, oh God, it's going to be really tough to qualify. It's going to be really intense. And actually I got in there. And it was almost like the light bulb went off, Shaq. I was just like, but it's just playoffs from last year. Nothing has changed. It's just the amount of games you have. And I wasn't very often going into last year's playoffs losing 3 out of my first 5 games. So why would this be any different? And in fact, I got to 4-0, and then I ran into one of the God squads. Nath talks about like a 2 million coin super squad, and he was just outright just better than me. So I had no problem with that. And thankfully, that came at the end of my run. But yeah, do you think maybe we've all got into our own heads that just because it's a shorter space, it's going to be much harder?
I think we all assumed that it was going to be much harder, especially for the first week. I genuinely didn't expect to qualify at all. And like you, I was a bit nervous and apprehensive, but I felt like I was in really good form yesterday. And I was playing really good. I was playing really good FIFA, and I thought I'll just jump into playoffs. And I won the first game, and then I thought, might as well go for the second one. Won the second, and then won the third. And I was pretty impressed with myself that I actually won all 3 back to back, and I qualified. And I think, as you said, I think we just had it in our heads that it was going to be, the qualifying phase was going to be extremely hard, but it wasn't as hard as I expected it to be. So I hope it stays this way. But again, having said that, though, I did it on a Monday, my time. You did it on a Monday as well, your time. So it's a bit weird because if from next week onwards, the patterns will change where you'll have the pros jumping in early on, or maybe they might be waiting till the end of the week to jump in and qualify. So it depends on the luck of the draw, because in the past you had margin for error. You don't have that margin anymore. So if you come across 3 really hard players, you're done for that whole round. That's the hard part.
I think the big fear as well at the moment is we're all quite careful with our coins. We're not, splashing out on players per se. I know that you've got something to say on that later on and how to build your teams and stuff. But when you go into some of these games, it's evident that people aren't worried about losing coins. They're putting everything into the team straight away. And that was the big fear for me. And it still kind of is about anyone that'll come up in the last 3 games, is that I've got 2 decent players in my team, but the rest of them are bang average starter squad type players. So that's the fear, that you come up against these God squads that could run over you. And sometimes, like we know at this stage of the game, it doesn't necessarily have to be a better player behind the controls, but some of these cards really make a heck of a difference.
Oh yeah, and I'm one of those people that just went out and spent. I've been steadily building up my coins. Have about 750,000 of them, and I just went out and splurged. I bought by Nico Williams. I bought Tchouameni for the midfield as well. I went out and bought Phil Foden, and just and I brought in the lone Jude card that I had as well. So effectively a 300,000 coin player as well. and just found it so much easier because I had that extra level of skill. And the teams I was coming up against were pretty much bang average starter teams. Yeah, the one at the end was very good, but most of them maybe had one or two good players. Like you'd run into, like one would have like a Salah and stuff like that. And I've been lucky this week. My pack luck has been pretty good. Pat Shinmin Son's in form, who is by far the best pull I've had so far in this game. Got Jamal Musiala as well. So I've been lucky enough to have that kind of core of good players. And I can only pull my hands up and say my team was better than 4 out of my 5 opponents. So that did give me an advantage. But I was kind of fearing what you said, Nath. I was going to run into God Squad. And maybe if we'd played this a few days earlier before full release, it would have been that way. So I think the motto here is if you're someone that's sat on the fence and you're kind of anxious about it, I think now is a time when lots of people are just going into it. So this is as good a time as any to try and qualify, because I think the really dedicated, hardcore players have all qualified by now. They've wanted those rewards, so it's a good time to try and dip your toe in the water and get yourself in to playoffs. Before I go any further, a very quick plug, of course, if you want to support this show, again, you can join the Discord. That's absolutely free. You can leave us reviews on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you do. Leave us those 5-star reviews. Go follow us on socials at FUT in Review. Of course, we're doing the daily shows as well as our 2 main weekly shows as well. So much content. But if you want to go that extra mile for 2 reasons, number one, you get exclusive shows like The Art of FUT, where we're talking tactics in depth. You get access to things like meetups, priority events, all of this good stuff. But most importantly, you're showing that you're prepared to go the extra mile to support something that you enjoy consuming. At the end of the day, we do this because we love it. But look, it makes everybody's life that little bit better if we see some coins in the tip jar, same way you do at a restaurant or anything. If you like what we do, you consume this show, that is how you can directly help us. It funds new equipment and makes us feel good. So go on, put your hand in your pocket. If you're going to buy FIFA points, if you're thinking of spending a tenner on FIFA points, why not spend a tenner and join the Patreon instead? There you go. That is my plug. Let's move on. Sorry, Shaq, go for it.
No. It was exactly. Completely concur with what you're saying.
Excellent. Good man. Moving on to another question from Ingvi. Do you think Rush will die out quickly? Seems like many are just rubber banding to get season points these days, unless you're playing with mates. Nath, have you found Roosh?
I've really enjoyed it up until today. I can't say that there's many issues. There's obviously the odd person that I'll not say exactly what I think of them, but they just refuse to pass the ball and just try and skill move and shoot all the time. Every game I played this morning, though, had rubber banders and people that were just refusing to give up the ball. So I sort of stick with what we said last time. I think Rush has a hell of a lot of potential. It's a really good mode. It's quite chill. But I think unless they do something about rubber banding, maybe saying you need to have more than one input within X amount of time, which I know would be a massive change to the code, so that's not going to happen. And if they bring in other objectives in our group chat, I think Shaq, actually, you highlighted a cracking one where, get X amount of assists, X amount of goals. So that way people will not just rubber band and not just shoot themselves, but they'll have to, bring in more, have a game rating of over 8 gets you like double modifiers or something like that. I think there's a lot of potential there because people love the mode, but I am a bit feared that it might die out unless they tweak it. And the rewards actually are pretty naff. Like, it's quite a lot of games you have to play. And I don't know if it's just my pat luck, but the 83 times 2 that you get at the end with just 2 guaranteed 83s in the last 2 weeks of it now. So hopefully they can boost a little bit the rewards, not just the objectives as well.
Yeah, Nate. Sorry, Shaq, we talked about this in last week's show, didn't we? We kind of put it in, do you want to keep it more casual with easier rewards, or do you want to make it really competitive? I mean, where do you sit with Rush now?
I think it could be, it doesn't have to be great rewards. It needs to be some rewards. For example, as Nate mentioned, just have some more assists, some sort of skills in there, something that you actually tally up. I think the rating is a really good example of what they can do. Certain amount of rating equates to something, and then have something at the end, maybe just a cosmetic evolution or even a gold pack or anything like that, just to entice people to do the right thing and just for everything to mean something. Because at the end of the day, 70,000 rush points does take a while. At the end of the day, if you get 84 times 2 as the best that you can get, which you get 284 rated players, this is going to die off, and it's not fair. And I just want to point out as well, one of the things I picked up from Nepenthes' video was the fact that if you're struggling in Rush and you're playing drop-ins and you're struggling that people are not passing, try and force the passes and make sure you're one of those people that just keeps on passing. more often than not, you will start noticing that your teammates will realize, oh, hang on, maybe we can just pass. It's just be kind initially and just hope for the best. And that I've been adopting that, and it has worked. It has worked.
Oh, I just keep saying thanks every time somebody messes up and doesn't. If they don't pass, or if they get tackled, or if they shoot stupidly, I just hit the thanks button all the time.
Yeah, that and sorry seem to be my two go-tos. Again, I can only echo what you two have said. I do think it needs a little bit of a tweak to make it more incentivizing. And look, the rubber band, they need to find some way of dealing with that, because nothing's going to kill a Mo quicker. And I also just think the games are a little bit too long. I think a lot of them are decided quite early on, especially the random drop-ins. More so if you're playing as a group of mates that you know you're better than a bunch of randos that you're playing, and then you just feel like I've noticed a lot of people. I don't know if you two have noticed this. I've noticed people starting to get deliberate blue cards, just to sit on the.
I was one.
Yeah,
somebody wasn't passing, and we were getting hammered because this guy, I think either rubber banded or wasn't passing. So I just started snapping folk until I got sent off, because I was like, I'm not playing with this. But it does cause like absolute frustration. It's a shame, because it's like we said, it's got so much potential to go on, and it could actually be one of the top modes that's not, champs to get the ridiculous rewards, but it could be something that we go to for a bit of a de-stress, a bit of a laugh, a bit of a chill.
Yeah, I'd love to see some sort of a clan system or something introduced, but I think that's way above what EA are going to want to do and what's going to be financially rewarding for them. But look, we remain to be seen. Look, they have launched a couple of different modes in the last couple of days. There's now an 88 rated max option in Rush. And of course, this Defenders only one that was out a couple of days before that as well, where you can only select a Defender. So look, it remains a good option to do Evos and things like that. So again, it's not totally dead, but at the moment, if they keep it the way it is, then I kind of agree with Ingvi that it's going to die out pretty quickly, because as soon as we get to the stage where an 84 plus double is not actually that good, and 84s are just, because it does hand out 84s and 85s and 86s more than anything else. As soon as we get to the stage where that's just fodder, people are not going to want to spend hours every week, especially with the congestion that you've now got. I mean, we've seen a friendly cup being released this week. So look at all the things you've got to play right now. Rush, a friendly cup, squad battles, trying to win 15-game rifles, weekend league playoffs, and then weekend league itself. They're not all going to go into one. So it'll be a case of, well, how do you give enough incentive to keep a mode like Rush alive, when at the moment, every other single mode gets you more rewards for your game time? So that will be interesting to see how they balance that out, and hopefully they can get the balance right. Let's talk then. We'll circle back a little bit to Weekend League and the build up to it, because it is the first Weekend League of the new game. It starts on Friday. Now, we don't know when it ends. That remains a question. Will it go back to the traditional style where it ends very early in the morning on Monday UK time? Or will it be the extended edition that we kind of saw from the sort of second half of FC24, where it ended on Tuesday or Wednesday? So no information on that yet. I know Ingvi has posed the question to EA, so hopefully in one of the daily shows we'll get an answer to that. If not, I'm sure it'll be all over social media when it is confirmed. But I mean, gents, what's your approach this weekend going to be like? When are you going to put your teams together? What are your kind of aims? Shaq, I'll start with you.
I'm genuinely. I don't think I have much time to play weekend league on Friday or Saturday. I'm just actually going whale watching on Saturday, so I wouldn't have time for weekend league. However, my plan is to start playing Sunday, late Sunday, so maybe early Sunday morning UK. That's when I'll actually start playing, and hope to smash out the 15 wins back to back within an hour or so.
I mean, that's the dream. I mean, Nathan, you're smiling like a Cheshire cat over there.
Yeah, I think 15 wins in an hour would be wonderful. And if you do that, Shaq, like we'll rename this whole podcast Shaq in Review, not FUT in Review, I think.
I mean, I've already pinned to our group chat, just listen to Shaq when it comes to our trading advice. I'm hopefully going to put together my team on Thursday morning. I think, right around sort of the Rivals rewards drop is a good time to buy it. What I will say to anybody, and Shaq, please correct me if I'm wrong here, sell your team as quick. If you can afford to get Weekend League done on Friday, please just sell your team as quickly as possible, because with the absolute stacked nature of these rewards, golds and to a lesser extent promo cards in packs are going to drop hard, especially those, we've already seen the very starter cards sort of die off. we're now going to see that kind of middle tier cards start to die off, aren't we, Shaq? Your likes of your Alphonso Davies, your Marquinhos, your Chouameni's, that kind of 10 to 30k tier. Doku, yeah, they're all going to drop like a stone, aren't they, come after the weekend?
Definitely. I think Friday, 6 p.m. onwards, all these cards are just going to die a really, really horrible death. So if you can get rid of them as soon as you can, that's the safest option. But at the end of the day, it all depends on when you're actually going to play the game, when you're going to use your squad. There's nothing wrong. Please, one of the things I want to advise anyone, please don't get attached to these cards. They're just cards. It doesn't have to be that exact same card. Get rid of them. Buy them back as soon as you're ready to play. Just do that. Just stop holding these cards forever and a day.
Yeah, very much agree. And it's what I've been doing. I said I bought a few players for playoffs and now I've sold them because I don't need them again till at least Thursday afternoon, as I've somehow managed to slug my way through 15 wins or 45 points in Division 4 now. Nath, we were having this discussion earlier because you mentioned you're someone that's got tight time constraints. My advice to anybody would be, if you've got enough points to enter and you can only play 5 games, just go and play those 5 games. Because if you've got through playoffs, you'll get most of the points towards entering the next set of playoffs. And Lord knows everyone's going to play enough rivals games to get the points to enter the next playoffs. I very much would encourage anybody to just play if it is a short weekend league, Nathan, I'd just say play what you can play, because the packs, even for sort of 4, 5, 6 wins, are almost too good to turn down at this stage.
Yeah, it's a definite consideration. For me, it depends when it ends because I'm off on Monday, so I'll not be able to do Monday either. So I think I'll try and qualify for this weekend league, but I might sit this one out because I've only got Friday. But the schedule's far too tight as well, so I still always want to do my rival wins and stuff. So I'll need to have a look when it's released. If I do get a chance to play, say it's open until Tuesday night, I'll play it on Tuesday, and there's probably a good chance that I'll try and buy it on Sunday night when people are sort of getting rid of the teams at last. But again, it all just depends on the release schedule for the champs.
We talk about rivals there. Again, one of the big talking points we were talking about last week was the kind of grind, and I just mentioned it, the whole kind of balancing of the game modes. I mean, Nath, are you convinced that 45 points is the right way to go? Both, with of course, we'd all love to see it only be 10 points, but can you see why that 45-point limit is there, or do you think it needs a tweak for the wider good?
I think if they keep up the current sort of schedule, when you've got friendlies and squad battles and champs and qualities and rush as well, I think it's too much. Like, even objectively, even the better players will be saying it's too much. I said right at the start I could see them nerfing it a bit. I think 15 is too much, but I think 7, to be fair. 7, I could do 7 on the Thursday morning and have to reset most of the time. So from a competitive sort of objective standpoint, I think because the rewards are fairly good in the higher tiers, I'd like to see it maybe be 10 wins, 10 to 12 wins sort of equivalent, just that little bit less, but still, force people to play. I think rivals could be good fun still in a good testing ground, but I think 45 points is that bit where it's too much if you want to do everything. And we know FOMO in FC is a big thing. So I think that's something that, EA have in the past said they're trying to drive, a bit more sort of mental health awareness type thing. Although we know they drive everyone to the store for points and stuff, like they do have this facade where they are trying to improve mental health, and they have said there's other ways around it. So I think for everyone's mental health, they need to lessen it a bit. It may be a little bit easier. At the moment, everyone's really congested. There's not many people probably above Division 4, Division 3 just now, unless you are, the top tier player. So maybe people will find it a lot more satisfying once we've spread out. But even then, if anyone gets into Elite Division, I can't imagine it being that straightforward to get 45 points in Elite Division any time of the year, let alone, just now.
Yeah, I guess it's about balancing what your priorities are. I mean, looking at the slate of rewards that you do get from Weekend League for 15 games plus 5, well, as low as 3, as much as 5 games in playoffs. The argument is there that you don't really need to play that many rivals. I mean, Shaq, when I first started this game, you kind of had that, didn't you, with rivals rewards, because your Weekend League counted as your points in rivals. So you would always just end, if you played Weekend League, you would always just end up in what is it like rank 2 or rank 3. Yeah. For rivals, and it didn't seem to bother people as much then that they couldn't get the very top tier rewards. Is it a case of, again, retraining our brains to say, look, if I end up, I play 6-7 games of squad battles 8-10 games of Rivals and get the lower kind of tier rewards from that, and then a slate of rewards from Weekend League plus any friendlies, that should, I mean, realistically, that for most players, that should be enough. You shouldn't have to get every set of top rewards, to be able to enjoy this game.
Oh, look, let's just preface this whole conversation by the fact that rewards don't mean you're going to get something that's good. It doesn't mean you guaranteed success. Yes, you have a punt at success, but that doesn't mean anything because you have a daily SBC as well, or an SBC that comes out every other day, and the chance of packing something through that is equally good as to packing something in the reward. So if you're not getting rewards, it's not the end of the world. And having said that, there's two ways to do it. One is you choose one stream and you swim down that stream and you play champs, or you just play rivals, or you play Russian friendlies, or whatever that is that you can actually, or squad battles. Choose one lane if your time is a constraint. Or as you said, just choose best of all worlds. Just do a little bit of everything and just hope for the best. That's probably another way to do it as well. I don't think, unlike last year, I don't necessarily think we can access every single thing in the game and complete every single challenge, because I feel there's a lot going on. And one of the things I was just thinking of while playing Rivals this week is, I just wish we got a point for a draw, or for playing the game, just regardless of anything, just a point for playing the game, because you go through a whole game and you end the game losing on the last minute and you get nothing from the game and you got to restart again. At least a point will just appease you and say, okay, that's time well spent. Let's just move on. And then 45 points kind of makes sense then.
Better yet, Shaq, and something that I've always called for, and again, something that used to exist in Rivals, start giving points for people scoring goals. Why not make it 5 points for a win, 3 points for a draw, 1 for a defeat, and then a bonus point if you score 3 or more goals? How much better would that? How much better would that make it to have that incentive of, okay, well, I've got a 3-3 draw, I've got 4 points here, or even if I've lost, 4-3, I've got 2 points. Again, whether that is aligns with how EA, because they've got all this data and they know what drives engagement and things like that. So whether that aligns, Adam says in the live chat, again, another perk of being in the Discord, you get to listen to this live as we record this. He says 10 wins or so will be fine. 45 is fine for now as the game is new, but people will get tired of it really fast, I think. Well, let's move back to Weekend League because, sorry, go on, Shaq.
Can I just say one? I really want to ask you guys this as well. Last week, we all spoke about how hard and annoying it was to get the 45 points. This week, it's Monday, it's Tuesday now, but Monday I had got my 45 points, and I wasn't grinding hard. I was just playing as I was playing the previous week, but I breezed through my 45 points this week. Did you guys have the same experience as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I found a formation which you put me on to, Shaq, that I started to really enjoy. Again, knowing the game a little bit more, plus people sort of emptying out the divisions a little bit more, like spreading out. I found it really easy. I managed to get promoted to Div 4 now, I think it is, same as you, Dan. Which usually even the promotion games, traditionally are pretty horrific. I didn't find the promotion game too hard either, so it was a definite different feeling. But again, I don't know whether that's just because people are starting to spread out a little bit more now.
So I think maybe. Yeah,
sorry, go on. No, go on, Dad. I
was just going to say, I think that spread is definitely a thing. And I played between Thursday and Sunday all my games. I played most of them in co-op, and we were just able to get on streaks, and it's the streaks that made things a lot easier to get promoted, because instead of it being every game was a real war where it was, win one, lose one, you did get the occasional player that you could tell, they've probably just come up from Div 5. Their team isn't as good, and we were able to get past them. But sorry, Shaq, what were you going to say?
No, it's just basically that I think eventually there will be a decision that every EAFC player has to make, which I made last year. Was I consciously made an effort not to go into Elite Division because I just wanted to play get my 7 wins and move on, because I didn't really think the rewards were that much better. And that's the conscious decision I made. And I think this year as well, as time goes on, I know you guys like to compete and like to go as far as you can possibly go. Whereas people like me, I think that I would like to take an approach where I would like to play and be as comfortable as I can, get the rewards that I can possibly get, and just move on rather than try to compete every single game.
You say that, but sorry, Nathan. I was going to say that's kind of what EA are trying to combat, though, aren't they? Because they've brought in this movement now between Elite and Div 3. So now you can't as easily say, well, I'm not going to get promoted, because you may as well play those games and get relegated, and you'll just find yourself at the bottom of Div 3. I know people are already annoyed that they can't get relegated lower. If you're in 4, 5, 6 and below, I think you can't get relegated beyond that division. Sorry, go ahead, Nath.
I was like that in Weekend League last year. I took the time to look at the rewards, and I figured like 9 rewards were fine, 11 were decent, anything above them was a bonus. So I always said if I get to 9, like I'm happy. If I can't be bothered, I'll call it a day at 9. If I push to 11 for the extra picks, that's great. Anything above that is like a win, and I must be enjoying myself. And I see that with Weekend League. For Rivals, I don't know why in Rivals, but my head is programmed that I have to get all the wins and the top reward in Rivals. Usually, like I think last year, I think there wasn't a lot of change between Div 1 and Div 2. And I think when they upgraded the rewards towards the end of the year, Elite was just like sublime compared to the rest. So that was when I kind of thought, no, I'm going to keep going back to Elite. The first time was by accident. And after that, I was like, no, those rewards actually, I think it was like the promo packs and the player picks and stuff. I was like, that is worth the grind in my eyes.
Yep, very much agree. Right, we are rapidly running out of time, and we've got a couple of features left to get to, plus a couple of questions still left in the mailbag. So let's move on to one of them now. Let's go to Player in Review. That was Player in Review. For the benefit of those who misheard me speaking, let's play it again because it's a great sting. Player in Review. There we go. You've all heard it, twice to make up for my lax technical skills. Shaq, who have you picked for Player in Review this week?
I really enjoyed using Smaller Egg this week, and I just randomly bought him off the market. Don't ask me why. He just caught my eye. I just bought him off the market just to try him out, and he was a whole lot of fun. I think in this early stages where these kind of players that have a slight edge are really useful against opposition that's using a starter team or even a basic goal team. He was just steamrolling through people and just scoring some amazing goals. And even though his pace is not extremely electric, he just felt electric on the ball, and he was just running past a lot of people. And I think at some point in time, we will get a base hero back, and some people that are listening to this podcast will probably back him and just not really pay too much attention. But he's actually a really fun card, and I think that's a card that you can probably look out for.
Excellent. Nath, who have you gone for?
Yeah, unfortunately, I've gone to the dark side. I've gone for Darwin Núñez, Evoed.
The man who was on the naughty list last week. He was on Shaq's
absolutely.
naughty list.
He was on Shaq's naughty list, but he is unreal. I was looking for a bit of pace and a bit of power up top. Evo Dims, we had the Power Shot Plus. Him and Rashford up top. It's tremendous. Like, he barely misses, and he's a bit of a bully. I quite like him in real life. He's probably my favourite Liverpool player because he's like Captain Chaos. Like, I cannot
believe. Hold on. I cannot believe a Manchester United fan has just talked about his favourite Liverpool player.
Honestly,
it's bizarre.
I could watch him all day because you never know what he's going to do. He doesn't know what he's going to do. I think it's hilarious. Like, it's like when you pour petrol in a fire and see which way it's going to explode. He's a bit like that. So he's actually really good in game. He's always since he's been in it, he's actually been pretty good in game. To be fair. I play 4-2-2 and he leads the line really well. Him and Rashford are just prolific together. A bit of pace, bit of flair. Yeah, he's really good, but he fits the team. And sometimes you have to take your club alliance's hat off when you need someone to score goals.
I can categorically say there will never be an Oxford or a Swindon player in my Football Ultimate team. I'm just saying that now.
There's probably not many in FC 25 anyway.
Look, it gives me a convenient excuse, but at least I can stick by that. I'm going to review Musiala, who I've used in a couple of different roles, actually. I've been using the 4-2-3-1-2 tactics that John, head of FUT Coaching, has released into our Discord as well. I think they're actually online as well as a bit of a taster for those of you not currently part of the Patreon and part of the Discord. I'm finding him great as a shadow striker, making those kind of late runs. I love that, the technical dribbling is not, Tech Plus isn't as good this year as it was last year, but it is still decent on a player like him. I think his finishing is much better than I would have thought it was going to be. The pace seems there, even though, again, it's a low face cast stat. And also played him out wide on the left as well. And he does a fairly solid job there. I don't think it's his best position. I definitely think it is in that kind of cam role. I'm not sure how he would fare as a box-to-box either, but I do think just as a pure cam, he just is really nice, and that nice little all-rounder that you need to be able to link the midfield and the strike force. So again, I think he's about 100k at the moment. And if you're putting a bit of a Bundesliga team together as well. A little bit of a shout out as well to Michael Elise's in form, and not just because he's a former Reading player. Again, I think for about 30k at the moment. He, again, is one of those players that plays above his stat. I think the main thing that puts a lot of people off is that 2-star weak foot, and you don't notice it as much. And I know Nath is shaking his head here because he's used him in my co-op team and didn't get on with him as much as I do. But I still think for the price, again, I was using Chloe Kelly there before. I think he's definitely better than Kelly. I'll go what you would expect for 25k more. But yeah, a little shout out to Michael Elise, who I think could be a nice, as my investment tip as well, as, and I'll play this thing here. FUT Coaching's top tip. Buy a Michael Elise and stick him in the club somewhere, because that 84 rated card with the stats the way he is a massive prime screaming candidate for there's going to be an Evo in about 3-4 weeks that fits him. And for 30k right now, the absolute most you will ever be able to lose on him is 20,000 coins. And I don't think he'll even go back to discard, at least for a long time. So that would be my top tip. And that concludes Player in Review. Just before we ride off into the sunset, 2 final questions from our mailbag. Grandpa Max says, question for the pod. With these cards being live until January, meaning the road to the knockout cards, if a player moves clubs in the window, will the upgraded card change clubs? Shaq?
I think so. I think they have done that in the past. They have actually moved the person's. I do. I can't remember.
Quincy Promes, I remember being one of them.
There we go. That's right. There's another Roma player as well that I can't really think of this. Yeah, it does happen. It does happen.
Yeah. So what generally tends to happen is if they move to a club in the same competition, and I'm not sure if it applies to different competitions, they will transfer club and the card will stay live. If they transfer a club not in the competition, the card effectively goes dead. It doesn't then count. The upgrades for the club they're playing at no longer count. That is as far as they've done it in the past. Whether that will change this year or it might just be a gigantic EA oversight, not realising now that the cards go past the January window. So it remains to be seen. But yes, that is how we understand it. If they move to another card in a European competition, it will just change that competition. If they move to another club out of the competition, the card will go dead. And the final question of the day from John Talking Foot: how do you get packs to improve your team if you can't get 5 rivals wins or champs entry? Squad battle packs so far are mid. I think I got 3 packs last week. Nath, are you finding generating packs outside of those reward windows tricky at the moment?
Yeah, it's not as free flowing as it gets in certain stages, but there's definitely ways around it. You can do draft, even offline draft gives you a few. There's still loads of things to do for the foundations and the milestone stuff that I've not even touched. The 77 plus double is back again, and that's repeatable now. I got an 87 Bastoni and a Lewandowski out of that in my first 2 today, so that wasn't too bad. They're not really usable for me, but it's nice to get a bit high rated fodder, and just keep there's so many game modes out there that we can do. Like the good thing is that we weren't sure how friendlies was going to go. It wasn't capped at 15 matches for your 10 wins or whatever. So I managed to do that in a setting, but you can take your time with that. Even some of these World Tour players and the player ones come with packs as well. So I think there is plenty of ways to do it. We just need to be clever about how you look in the menu. And then even with rivals, like we say, just learn the game a little bit. Take your time. Don't put the pressure on the ultimate reward. Learn the game, learn your squad. And, 5 wins, it will be achievable no matter what level you're at. You just need to sort of just chill, take John, we know John likes to get a bit stressed when somebody presses him as well. It's those things that go back to basics again and just relax a little bit more and don't focus on the overall end game, because it's a marathon, this game. It's not a sprint.
Yeah, and again, I think that the major point you raised there, the amount of milestones and foundations, just combine those with a few squad battles, and you'll tend to find the 75 plus 2s and 3s and stuff start rolling in for that as well. Anything to add on the pack collecting front, Shaq?
Oh, no, exactly. Well, as Nate said, there's not really too many ways that you can actually collect packs apart from the rewards that you get. But one of the things that I've really noticed this year is the pack content is less, but then the packs are not really more valuable, if that makes sense. It's not like you're packing things really left, right, and center from playing, as I just mentioned, that qualifying for champs and I got absolutely nothing. I finished my rush objectives and I got absolutely nothing. So they're not really giving you exactly what you want. So these packs are not great. I think the SBCs are probably the easiest way you can get. As soon as an SBC comes out, do that and hope for the best, I guess.
Yeah, and just look, a very final word again. We don't tend to delve too much into content on these shows because that is going to be handled kind of by the daily shows that John and Ingvi, often co-piloting, have been doing. But again, just any final thoughts on content this week, Nathan? Anything you think I'm going to do that? I'm not going to do that. Just in 30 seconds or so, just your thoughts on the whole content for the past week.
To be honest, the contents for once hasn't really gripped me. Usually I do most of the SBCs. There's not been one here that I've been like, I must do. The 77 double upgrade, I'll keep doing every now and then. I've emptied my dupe storage onto it. So that's pretty much my main trail of thought. I did Alaba, I think we mentioned last week. Did we potentially? Did Alaba. He's actually been well worth it. So thank you guys for forcing me to do that. But apart from that, I actually think it's been quite mid, this level of, especially the players in the SBC so far.
Yeah, and Shaq, your brief thoughts on content?
I think the content's it's lacking a little bit. I wish there was a little bit more than just to keep us engaged because there was no evolution. There was nothing extra that we could actually do. Even hopefully there's UCL marquee matchups tomorrow. That'll spice things up at least.
Yeah, agreed. I've just not been captivated by the likes of St. Maximin and was it Lo Celso? I think we had yesterday and things like that. So all just very mid. Again, SBCs, I think they could have released those a few days earlier and they would have been a lot better looking, but already we're at the stage where if you have been playing since pre-release, they're just very meh options. Look, we're going to wrap that up because we've been gone on for long enough. Thank you so much to everybody for listening and supporting the show, especially to those of you in the Discord and especially to those of you who go that extra mile in Patreon. Again, if you want to improve your game, check out futcoaching.com. No better place to learn your trade and actually get better at the fundamentals that are going to last you, not just in FC25, but for however long, EA are putting out sports games because, look, they don't tend to change too much. So I could very much recommend that one for you. As mentioned, the daily shows will be back. Then there'll be a fully fledged, proper show, in inverted commas, episode 627. That will be out Saturday morning. Again, you get it early if you're on the Patreon as well. So they'll record that on Friday night when we get Road to the Knockouts Team 2. Again, some big fish apparently in that promo team based on the leaks so far. So it'll be interesting to get the guys' thoughts on that one. We will hopefully return next Tuesday and, we may be more disheveled and crying wrecks, husks of men after trying to go through the first weekend league of the season. But whatever happens, we'll be here to recount our experiences. Thank you so much for your time. I hope everyone has a great week, both on the virtual pitch and off it, and hoping for health, happiness, and all of those good, positive thoughts from us. But in the meantime, just one thing left to do, gents. Nathan,
drop it.
Shaq,
drop it.
We are going to drop it. Thank you, everybody.
Drop it.
FUT. FUT. FUT.